I went to see two movies this week. Alien Covenant, that I was really looking forward to, and this movie, which I've never heard of before until about a week ago. Who would have thought I would enjoy this movie more? Don't get me wrong, this is by no means a great movie. In fact, I don't think I can even say this is a better movie than Alien Covenant, but certainly I felt happier walking out of the cinema, which I guess that's what we go to cinema for, right? Even though I'll probably forget about it in a couple of days. Honestly, I wasn't even going to make this video because it's just nice, just a fun movie. If you just watch it without thinking about it too much, then you forget about it. But then just now I was browsing through Rotten Tomatoes and I found that this movie was at 20 something percent and Alien Covenant was at 70 something. I mean, what the hell? So I just wanted to let everyone know that you should not be put off by the low scores. If you like films like Lord of the Rings, you should definitely give this movie a chance. Not saying you have to make an effort to go see this in the cinema. It's not of the same quality, obviously. But if you want to go to the movies anyway and don't know what to watch or which movies to pick, definitely you should. It's worth considering this as one of the choices. Let me give you an idea of what to expect without spoilers, of course. So, if you've seen a Guy Ritchie movie before, his unique style is definitely being used here. Although it's not used throughout the entire movie, like in Snatch or Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. In those films, you felt that it was his film. But in this one, you can see his style being used in here and there, but it's not used throughout the entire movie. But if you've never seen one of his movies before, he has this very unique style of the way his characters speaks and talk to each other, combined with this very interesting editing technique. Similar to how you can tell if you're watching a Tarantino film, you know, how his character speaks and things in every single one of his film. They always have this same style of speaking and the dialogue is written kind of, you can tell it's his film. But it's very hard to explain, but can be very entertaining and funny, the Guy Ritchie style. Although sometimes it doesn't quite come off perfectly in this movie. The action is better than expected. I thought it was going to be a realistic style like Gladiator and or stuff like that, but this is full-on Lords of the Ring, Dungeon and Dragon type stuff. When he goes God mode with his Excalibur sword, it is pretty impressive. Very similar to the movie Immortals. Not a very good movie, I know. But in the action scene, when the gods were fighting the Titans, you know how everyone else is moving slow motion, but the gods and the main characters are just moving at normal speed and just going around handing out the beat down. It's very similar to that, although might not be as good as that, but it's quite similar. And some of the magic in this looks pretty awesome as well. You can really feel the power and the shockwave from the blow. I think with CGI it's very easy to get that wrong. It just looks very cheap. But in this one, in most of the magic scene when they were like throwing around fireball and stuff, where it hits, it's like, wow, you can really feel these guys are just a level above the normal people running around with just bow and arrows. However, in other parts, when the action was more traditional, the sword fighting is not that great, to be honest. Very run-of-the-mill, but it's passable. But it's the kind of thing you expect to see in just a TV series where they don't have much time to do a good choreography and things like that. But they obviously put more emphasis on the main battle section of the film and didn't really have the time or the budget to put into the rest, which they seem actually to be trying to hide with a lot of shaky cam and fast cuts that I really hate. So, but it's understandable though, because this film is actually quite long and there's quite a lot of action scenes, so it's not surprising that some of them they just have to just quickly go through and just didn't do very much training or practice or choreography. It just go in, just slice the bad guy, you know, nothing fancy or anything, but it's not too bad that it detracts from the film. The main problem with the movie though, he didn't go full on Guy Ritchie style. I mean, I'm not sure if that was his own choice or the studio was kind of getting a bit nervous, because I've looked at the budget that they used and it was like $175 million. I was like, whoa, I thought this was a low budget film before I went in. So basically, if he had just done the whole film in his unique style, I think it would have worked much better, because his unique style is much better than just, the round-the-mill B-rated straight-to-cable Dungeon and Dragon type movie that we've seen before. I'm sure many of you have seen on cable and late nights and stuff like that. Like in Romeo and Juliet film with Leonardo DiCaprio, where they just went full on with their own stylized version of a classic story, and actually I thought that was great. With this though, it felt like we would be watching this unique style for a few scenes, and then for the next few scenes it would revert back to those completely, B-rated straight to cable type storytelling with horrible cliche dialogue and bad editing, and then it would go back to his unique style again for a few more scenes, and then just keep jumping back and forth, which really detracts from the flow of the movie, I thought. Having said all that, the good parts happens to be mostly at the beginning of the film and at the end of the film, and also some in the middle part. So overall, they were spaced out perfectly to keep the film enjoyable. I mean, if all the best parts happen to be at the beginning, I might have not enjoyed this film as much as I did. Overall, I would have to give this movie at least a 6.9 out of 10, and maybe more. I just didn't want to be, too generous. But definitely no worse than Alien Covenant. So, I mean, if you were considering going to watch this movie and was put off by the low scores on Rotten Tomatoes, don't be.